I think we do a good job of choosing poets. And tonight, we start out with Joan Colby, who is the recipient of 3 Illinois Arts Council Awards, and some of her poetry collections have been published and awarded by such respected imprints as Future Cycle Press. Tonight she has Bittersweet for only $5, Carnival for $8. When I read Joan Colby's work, I learn what it is that I love in a poem. It's the language that's taking on the complexities of life on this planet in such deft and surprising ways. Let's listen closely to Joan Colby.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to read from one of my most recent books, Carnival, and came together with some poems inspired by going to carnivals, local fairs, experiences that we've all shared, and the poems just came kind of all of a group. I had another chapbook manuscript that I had been working on that I was at that time calling Invented Histories, and these were prophecies of literary figures and mythological figures, what could happen to them in the future. And because I needed more poems to make a full volume, with the suggestion from my editor, we called that section Sideshows, and it became a part of the book Carnival. So I'll begin reading with some of the poems from Carnival, including the first one that I wrote was Cotton Candy. A sugared sweet web, too sweet, cloying words to seduce with duplicity. Aftertaste stains the tongue, the way a lie lingers to confuse. Artificially pink as the flamingos on suburban lawns, or the feet of mourning doves, their winsome offers, who is yearning? Pink as innerness, as what opens to sense, to love. A stick to lick at. You have to want it because it's carnival, an annual celebration of bad taste. The roof of the mouth sticky with clouds, as if angels wept, and sated you still can't finish those final glassy threads. Too much, never enough. And the next poem is Shooting Gallery. It's your dad who'll raise the rifle to his shoulder in order to prove his manhood to his daughters. The rows of teddy bears and pandas you have to have. He's a dead-eye shot, he tells you, scored high in the Marines, but not a sniper. He'll bust those bottles, wait and see. It might take all the cash in his pockets, but he's never leaving without putting a big pink bear in your arms. It's a lesson in perseverance and love. Still, you have to think, what if he never does it? That could happen. And you know how he would sulk, his underlip jutting as he drives home, not speaking to you, swearing at a car that cuts him off. And then we have Ferris wheel. That boy, the one who invited risk, was the one who loosened the bar as you stalled on the top, the one who started rocking the delicate cage while you screamed for mercy. The world far below, dizzied with your terror and excitement, your hand gripped his knee, pleading stop, as he grinned and rocked harder, the way he'd intend later in the car. So you were warned. When the wheel started its final revolutions, when at last you halted and stepped off shakily, taking his hand, you already knew what would happen. And then we have bumper cars. Everything you were taught to avoid, crashing, blocking, spinning out, deliberately jolting your best friends, laughing at their misfortune, it's all permitted. You can drive the red car of revenge, sideswipe the lover who cheated and thought you'd never find out. See his surprise as you aim once again and stomped the pedal to the floor. And we have a sword swallower, and that came in more from the kind of fairs and things where you have various performers. Tell them the blades are dull. Your candor leaves its mark. Now they'll believe anything. They'll believe no matter what you stick down that throat of yours won't hurt. Don't tell them how long it took to learn how not to choke, the gag reflex, a kind of physical conscience, gone at last. No steel can make you flinch, even the serrated sword that helps the crowd blanch. You kneel as if to receive a sacrament, and let the blade coast through your gullet. Easy does it. Like a ghost you arise, the hilt of death jutting from your mouth. Now slip it out slightly and smile. They gasp as if you just drove devils out of hogs. 3 at once. You show the knives. You take a bow with blades still in place, bending stiffly from the waist. It's all in knowing how, the delicate angles. Now I will read some of the poems from the sideshow section, which was originally Invented Histories. And the first is Dorothy. They picked her out when the orphan train stopped. She looked like a worker, a stocky girl, strong and solid. How wrong they were. She went about singing, forgetting to feed the fowls or milk the cows. She burned the bread and then the dreams she persisted in telling. Silk hearts, cotton brains, wizards and such. Land's sakes, she thought monkeys could fly. What's to be done with such a girl? Then she ran off. Just as well. It wasn't working out the way they'd thought. But she came back to that wind-riven house, that treeless prairie, the gray pair with their puzzled, disapproving faces. And she told them there are witches and silver shoes and a man who turned to tin and a lion. And then she sang and sang and sang until the whole sky darkened. And another one, The Little Match Girl from Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales. All happy families are alike, just as Lev declared. Gathered around the dinner table, a crown roast, browned potatoes, eating, chatting, laughing. She watched them, a cold fire in her heart, lonely, unfostered, in the dark of consequence. Flame anoints this absence, the 2-story apartment seething gold at every window's mouth, the screaming of trapped children. She holds the can of gasoline, the box of matches. How this scene warms her. She awaits the sirens, the routine of ladders and hoses, smiles as though any of that could stop her. And we have Red Riding Hood, and there's a little epitaph, the age of innocence ends at 7. First of all, the grandmother with her ancient demands, the insistence of the aged to be honored. The woods were heavy with snow, all the trees bent over. If this was submission, it was involuntary. There must have been a mother who provided what was to be offered, who was torn between generations, their common enemy. How she tried to appease them, the old woman in her bed, the child ruddy with pleasure. Everyone must have known what lurked in the boundless places, sly and conniving. Let us remember the child too was complicit, heedless, eager to go where she would not be commanded, her red cloak in the forest, her basket of sweetness. And then we have Pandora from the myth. The child can't resist finding out what the wrapped box in the closet holds. A spoiled Christmas, a fake surprise, not even what she really wanted. 10 years married, the ritualistic sexual act just as he likes it. Her mind roves ghostly on a distant planet. The affair begins like that, her heart opening like a treasure chest filled with butterflies. This lasts a little while. The rendezvous in seedy motels, surreptitious dinners, the dirty weekend camouflaged as a business trip. It all becomes routine. The he says, she says. Infection feasts upon her boredom. She jiggles the lid, chancing discovery. And we have Huck Finn. Settled in a sod house in Kansas, plowing the tough soil with a mule named Jim, or celestially wed to 3 Mormon women, a passel of tow-headed children calling him father. Or did he get as far as San Francisco, sharp at cards or tinkling the piano keys in a bordello? Was he one of the buffalo hunters blackening the plains with hides? Did a Sioux woman bed him? Did he break mustangs for the cavalry or ride shotgun on the stage to Cheyenne? Did he ever reminisce about the widow or Tom, intruder of a final chapter? The Shepherdsons' inexorable feuds, the Dauphin and the Duke? Did he peddle patent medicines from a wagon bed? Is there a stone on the high prairie with his name and date? Did he end up like Pap, drunk on a riverbank, with his son cursing a memory of beatings and deception? And let's see, this is the woodman, and this encompasses several fairy tales. There's always a woodman who is featured. Bearded visage, axe, he comes to the rescue of the children fleeing the candy house, the clawing call, the ovens. He tramps the dark forest where they scattered breadcrumbs that ravens devoured, where their footsteps led further and further into the mystery of loss, how they were invited by evil, saved by imitation. Alone, the tree trunks closing in as if the world had shrunk into the scope of 2 hands. Always the woodman. Once he killed a deer to take its heart as proof. Another child saved for a prince's lust. These 2 will be returned. He gestures, they follow. Brother, sister, trusting in a hut with a glad father. How easily they forget the woman who said, "Leave them." How, as they wandered, their cries were mistaken for owlets or nightjars. When you lose yourself, the woodman moves out of shadows to escort you. "This way," he says. Thank you.